In this video, I'm going to show you the basic workflow of Autodesk Revit. And I'm just going to create a simple house and show you some of the things that you're going to be doing throughout this class. So to start with, I'm just going to create a new drawing based on our residential template, which is going to give me the types of walls that I want to create for a residential home. And then once I'm in here, I'm going to create some walls. Now we'll get into more details about the wall tool and some of the properties that I'm going to adjust, but I'm just going to adjust some things on the fly here just to, again, give you an example. So let's say I'm going to create a brick building here, and I'm going to adjust the heights of my walls slightly. And I'll just create a fairly simple little building here. No particular sizes in mind, but just something to get me started with. So I'm drawing with the wall tool, but I'm actually creating a 3D model. So if I switch to 3D, I can see my brick walls here now. So I'm going to switch back and maybe I'll create some interior walls as well. So I'll choose an appropriate wall style for that. And then again, just simply create some walls. Go. So again, I can jump over to 3D and see my new 8-foot tall walls that I just created in there. I can also set this view to a shaded mode so I can see some of the color in there. Alright, so now I've got some walls. Next thing I want to put in are some doors and windows. So I'm going to use my door tool and choose a few doors from my family list. Alright, a couple of single flush doors as well, maybe a back door, a couple doors into these rooms. There we go. And again, I'll switch to 3D and the doors are going to show closed, but you can now see the door in my project. Place a few windows here to let some light in. And again, I'll just choose a style at random here and start placing some windows. Again, we'll talk more about the specifics of placing content like windows as we go on through the class. And there we go. Switch to 3D and now you can see my house with all of my windows. Next up, I'm going to put a floor in here. So I'll use my floor tool and choose a specific type. This time I'll do a wood floor. And as with the other items, we'll talk more specifically about what we want to look for when we're placing floors a little bit later. But again, I'll switch to 3D and I can now see my wood floor that's been placed in here. A house needs to be built on a foundation, so I'm going to create a foundation plan here. And let's say that I am going to make a house with no basement, so I don't need to worry about going down really far for the basement, but what I do want is to at least go down 3 feet to get past the frost line. So I'm going to, whoops, let me adjust a level here. There we go. There we go. Switch back to 3D. Right now it's basically set up for a basement, but I'm going to go make some changes, and this is where the idea of parametric comes into play, because if I change something in one view, it's going to adjust in all others. So I'm going to adjust my footing to be 3 feet below the foundation level, so that will shrink my foundation wall there. we go. So switch back to 3D and I can see my newer, shorter wall here. And then I can adjust my floor and my wall to go to the foundation level. We'll talk more specifically later about the appropriate way to do that, but just as a quick workaround, I'm just going to adjust the level of these walls and put them on the foundation level. There we go. And then I can put in a footing as well, and then I'll work on the roof and the ceiling a little bit here. So I'm going to create a wall footing. This is a 36-inch footing. It's a little bigger than I want, but just in the interest of demonstration, I'll accept it here. So now I'm ready to put in a roof. So I'm going to go to my roof plan. And currently, I don't really see anything in here, so I'm going to need to make an adjustment. I'm going to use what's called an underlay, which again we'll learn more about later, but it lets me see something from a different level. I'll simply choose my roof tool, set an overhang, decide if I want a hip or a gable ends on my roof. Let's say that I'm going to do some gable ends, so I'm going to remove some slopes here. There we go. Finish, and now I've got a roof. As you can see, it's a little high, and that's driven by the roof level, so I'm going to go back to an elevation, and I'm not going to have a second floor, so I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to adjust my roof level to 10 feet. You can still see that I've got a gap, so I'm going to adjust all of my walls and attach them to the roof. Let's try that again. There we go. Now I've got that all closed up, and now I can go back and add a ceiling. So using my ceiling tool, adjust my height slightly here, and then I'm going to add a ceiling to each room. So if I look inside the windows here, I can actually see my ceiling in there now. So now I'm going to add some components, perhaps some lighting. So I can add in some lights to my ceiling. Can add in some furniture as well. I'll just add a few things in here. Let's say I'm going to put a sofa in here. Now right now I can't see it because I'm in a ceiling plan, so I'm going to jump back to a floor plan and place a sofa in here. So I can continue adding that content. So while I'm creating all this, sheets are being created for me. So I've got a sheet set up for my first floor plan. I need some work, I need to dimension it, I need to worry about the scale, but you get the idea that things are being automatically created for you. Schedules are being created. So I have a door schedule, and it keeps track of all the doors that I've placed, so I can get all of the content out of Revit. So one of the things that we'll do as we finish up this semester is we'll actually create some 3D rendered views. So I'll be able to create not just the default view here, but I can create my own. So I might want to create a scene that shows this couch, what it looks like in the room. You can see my pendant lights hanging down that I placed earlier. I'm going to do a really quick rendering, and I am going to leave it on low. I don't want to take too long for this particular demonstration. When you go really high quality, then you're going to wait for that to finish up. It can take several hours in some cases. But since I'm doing a relatively low quality, this should go pretty quickly here, and we'll be able to see a 3D rendered view of this house. And you can see it didn't take me a whole lot of time to create this house. You'll get these skills as you continue along using Revit. Right now it's doing a first pass that's dark, and then it's going to come through and do a second pass. And what I did was I turned the sunlight off so it's at nighttime, so only the interior lights are working, and I can play around with it a little bit too, and I can adjust exposure and brighten it up in there until I have a nice looking rendering. As you can see, it's kind of rough. It's just a low quality version to test things out, and then I can do a high quality version later. So that's a quick look at the workflow of Revit, starting with a blank project and jumping right into the construction of a house.